G'day, Bomber fans. Well, I think quite a few people would have been tuning into the Crichton Medal last night. That's probably the most talked about Crichton Medal I've ever seen. And of course, it's for one reason, one particular speech even. But today, I am going to quickly cover everything that happened last night, all the individual awards, the players that won them, some of the keywords in other speeches. We are going to talk about the elephant in the room as well. In fact, I think most of this video will be talking about the elephant in the room, but we'll talk about the Crichton Medal as a whole. So let's start off with the award winners, and at the end we'll get to Mr. Merrett. Alright, let's go through the awards. The first of the night was the John Kilby Staff and Trainers Award, voted by the staff at the club. It goes to the player who shows the most commitment and dedication to everyone at the club outside the playing group. So if you don't say thank you to the water boy, you're not going to be winning this award. And for the third time in his career, it went to Andy McGrath. We do hear a lot about Andy's leadership off field and the time he puts in with the younger players, but he is also just a terrific teammate to those not wearing the jumper. And it's no surprise that he won this again. It's a glowing endorsement of his character and the work he does behind the scenes at the club. And the Bruce Haymanson Best Clubman Award, speaking of Andy McGrath, went to him. It was his second award of the night, and while he's won the Staff and Trainers Award 3 times in his career, this was actually the third time in a row that he had won the Best Clubman Award. And like I said before, you hear incredible things about McGrath off the field. His leadership and dedication to his teammates is a big reason why many think he is the captain in waiting for 2026. The Adam Ramanauskas Most Courageous Award it's pretty self-explanatory. It goes to the player who demonstrates courage. And this year it went to Sam Durham, which is fair. You could say his on-field actions demonstrate courage. That is true. He is as hard as they come. For me, though, it was him battling through that persistent foot injury, playing way more footy than he should have, filling a space in the team when he could have been resting. I seriously think if we were fully fit, he would have missed a large chunk of the year, but he ended up playing 20 games. I'd say at least half of them in serious pain. So definitely a deserved winner of this one. And the Lindsay Griffiths Rising Star Award goes to the player under 21 years old who has played less than 10 games coming into the season that polls the most votes in the Crichton Medal. So this one isn't actually voted by a panel. It just depends on how young you are and how many votes you get on the night. And Archie Roberts took out this award, and it's no surprise. We've seen where he finished overall. But when he accepted this award on the night, they'd released the votes from rounds 1 to 9, and he was in 3rd place. No one else eligible was even in the top 10. And it wasn't even the last award of the night that he'd win, because he also won the Most Improved Player, and it comes after he only made his AFL debut late last year and played just 4 games for the season. And then in 2025, he was one of our most consistent and reliable operators, playing every single game for the year, one of only 4 Bombers to do so. He managed to average a little under 25 touches a game out of defence. It was a big night for young Archie. The Matthew Lloyd Leading Goal Kicker Award goes to the Essendon player who kicks the most goals. It's the only award I think that has a cemented and confirmed winner before the night. You know who wins this because you look at the goals tally. And this year it was Peter Wright, the second time in his career. He won this award from 28 goals. It was the lowest tally since 2020 to win. It was still impressive considering he missed the first 4 or 5 games of the season with injury. And the final and probably most prestigious award before the Crichton itself was the McCracken Medal, a team-voted award. After every round, everyone on the playing list votes for a member of the club who best embodies the club's values and what it means to be an Essendon player. And for the second year in a row, this was won by our captain, Zach Merrett. And yeah, say what you will about the way he's conducted himself this off-season, but he was nothing short of incredible throughout the year. Playing through that broken hand late, leading from the front while the club was losing games of footy. Now, there were also not necessarily specific awards, but players like Mason Redman and Jaden Laverty were presented with life memberships to the football club. Laverty, of course, in his final season for the club. And the Crichton Medal, here is the overall tally. I'm sure you guys already know the results by now, but here we are. Zach Merrett has won his 6th Crichton Medal. A massive congratulations to him. Say what you want about the bloke, but he's a star. One of the very best to play for the Dons ever. Ideally, that legacy would have lived on strong, but obviously it's a bit of a tricky situation right now. But what I'm really looking at here, and I've just lost the tally. Here we go. What I'm looking at is Archie Roberts in 2nd place. That is a 19-year-old who had played 4 games coming into the year, finishing 2nd in the club's best and fairest. And yes, there were injuries around him. That's a big reason why this count is so all over the place, but it's still incredible. You know, a 19-year-old who played 4 games before the year, finishing second, that's fantastic. You've got Sam Durham, who is 24, finishing third. Nick Martin, also 24, finishing fifth. That was off the back of a knee injury that forced him to play 16 games. Andy McGrath keeps his top 5 streak going. He was fourth. You've got Mason Redmond in sixth. Xavier Dersmer, another under 25. Jai Caldwell, another under 25. Jackson Pryor, another under 25 in 7th, 8th, and 9th. And Peter Wright, 2 meter Peter, with, you know, that slow start to the year, obviously coming off the back of injury, in 10th place. That is the Crichton Medal. A massive congratulations to Sam Durham and Archie Roberts to start with. That to me is the story of the night in the count itself. Archie Roberts in second. We are... I mean, you know, some will say disaster. Tom Morris is going to call this a disastrous night, I'm sure, but I look at Archie Roberts and I see real hope for the future. I look at Sam Durham and Nick Martin, Xavier Dersmer, Jai Caldwell, and I see hope for the future looking at those guys. So congratulations to them, but of course we have to congratulate Zach Merrett. I mean, it was an incredible year. He was always going to win this Crichton Medal, and look, I don't want to spoil anything, but he may be the favourite for the Everything Essendon Player of the Year award as well, and that count will be released in the coming days, I'm sure, as soon as I get around to editing it. Alright, let's get on to some of the speeches. Let's talk about the things that you guys really want to hear about. We're going to start with Andrew Welsh, who kicked off the night, the new president of the club. He talked quite a lot about this new era of Essendon and promised that it would be the greatest era of the club, which, I mean... Of course he is going to say that. He's not going to get up there and say things are going to be crap for the next few years. I do like his messaging, though. He talked about the one Essendon, one club again. I said this after his performance on Footy Classified. The vibe I'm getting and the key word out of his tenure is going to be unity, because he was preaching unity again. We saw him talk about it on live TV, on radio. I liked him saying that we win together, lose together, and stick together. He's very much trying to create a club culture centered around unity and togetherness, and even though he didn't directly talk about Merrett or that situation, he made it pretty clear that he wants a club that is founded upon that culture. Brad Scott, not long after, he was in an arm sling, feeling the effects of the injury crisis. That was a bit ironic. He did directly address Zach Merrett, Brad Scott. He first talked about those leaving. He had good words for Goldie, Laverty, Shield, and Draper, but he made sure to talk about the leadership group and specifically Merrett. He acknowledged the difficult time he was going through and through his love and support towards Zach in his speech, going as far as to say that he loved him and would always have his support. He kind of backed up Welsh's comments while also thanking Barham. A pretty standard speech. He always speaks well, Brad Scott. What he did specifically mention, which I found interesting, was the high performance team and how that had kept players at the club, but is also a drawing factor for players coming in. Whether that's a little hint towards, you know, Flanders or Fiorini or another trade target, we'll see. But the big speech of the night is Zach Merrett. So yeah, he won the award. He got up to talk. He looked pretty stiff up there, and that is reasonable. And I was thinking about this as he got up, you know. Imagine the pressure he would have been feeling walking up to that stage, knowing the footy world would be watching and listening and dissecting every word he said up there. So for starters, I mean, good on him for getting up there and remaining professional. But the way I see it, and I'm by no means a, you know, professional body language reader or anything like that, but it did look like someone who didn't want to be at the club next year. Like, the vibe about that speech was, it was rehearsed and thought through. Like, he clearly knew what to say, and I'm not criticizing him for that. It would be really bold for someone in his situation to go up there and wing it, but he clearly left the door open both ways, and he was really good at doing that. He talked about how he's contracted and captain and respects the club's decision to keep him, which is, you know, pretty much him saying they are keeping me here against my will. Like if you want to stay there, you're not going to talk about your contract situation. But then he also said that he loves the club and will always love the club. He talked about the dialogue being open and honest in the last few weeks, but started off the speech talking about individual success not being the reason he plays footy. He talked about that a lot, actually, and he talked about, you know, that whole team success that he desires, which is, I don't know, that didn't sit right with me, because that's the main reason for him wanting a move. That felt weird. There were even some other things in the speech that were really hard to pin down. Like at one stage he talks about how he's going to continue working with the club, but to me that felt ambiguous as to whether it was about his playing, his career, or working with the club to find a trade. I don't know. I didn't really understand that either way. Let me know if you saw that differently. But yeah, the way I saw his speech, it felt like he's pretty clearly checked out and exhausted, and wants a trade. Like, he doesn't want to be at the Bombers. That's the vibe I got. But I think he knows that he can't really say anything like that while up on stage, because the club's position in the public is to keep him. So I thought he did pretty well at trying to get the message across that, he both wants to leave but is willing to stay. That's the way I felt the speech going. It's kind of like, he's up there saying, I'm happy playing for Essendon if I have to. That's the vibe I got about it. But I also think he's definitely going to say that in a room full of Essendon people. Like, we have to remember that if he's going to go all out nuclear, it wouldn't be at the Crichton Medal. It would be after it, when he doesn't have to face Essendon fans, his teammates, the whole room listening. And based on the vibes of that speech, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Like, there's probably legs to this as it goes on. This may well just be a placeholder speech fronting to the public, and the real noise may come out during the trade period. I think he even talked about how no club should be defined by one person, which is a really interesting thing to say. And it's pretty clearly both him acknowledging the club as a whole, but also saying, please let me out. I'm not the face of the club. So yeah, I thought he handled this as well as he could have for someone that is trying to leave, because he would know that if he says the wrong things, it could well affect the trade. Like, that is legit. Everyone's watching this speech for a reason. If he went out and said, I'm 100% happy to stay at Essendon next year, then the Bombers would really drive up the asking price for him. But then if he said, I want to leave, or walking back to the club next year would be really tough. So I thought he balanced the speech as well as he could. To me, it definitely felt like he was hitting those points to kind of leave both doors open. And really, the door that he wants to go through is the Hawthorn door. Now, some other things he said, he talked about his support circle, and that he said that the last few weeks made it clear to him who was truly in his corner and who he could trust, which was a really interesting thing to say to Best and Fairest. I found that fascinating. Whether that's a dig at the players who went public, I don't know, maybe that's me reading into things. He did, however, thank the players, of course he's going to, but he only specifically named Andy McGrath. I found that interesting, considering there are others in the leadership group, although those others did kind of go public criticising his behaviour. Just touching on that, I spoke to a few people who were at the ceremony, at the Crichton Medal. There were some differing takes here and there, and I'm not going to go into this too much because I've heard, different vibes about it. I did hear maybe one or two little awkward moments throughout the night, and there was a bit of a frosty vibe between a few players, potentially. I'm not going to name names because it's all just speculation and opinion, and we don't even know if it's fact or not. Others told me it went off without a hitch and that the vibe was great. But yeah, we won't discuss that too much. I've heard a few different stories, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard some as well. But in the end, we kind of just have to see how this plays out and take a step back with all the Merrett slander and hate and stuff. Like, this guy, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with him, but he has genuinely given everything to the club in these last few years in his career, and he is clearly going through it a bit right now. I do feel sorry for him. Like, I know some will say it's a good thing that he's going through it and he deserves it, but I don't think he does. Like, he's a human being. He didn't ask to be Essendon's messiah. Yes, he's captain, I get that, but I think him giving as much as he has given on and off the field, he kind of deserves for this to just play out without getting all the hate and attention that he's getting at the moment. If he does end up moving to Hawthorn, I'm sure he's going to get booed by the Bomber fans, and that's going to, I'm not going to comment on that either way. But I think for now, let's just congratulate Zach on his 6th Crichton Medal. Maybe the last, but he's still in the history books as one of the best to have ever played for the Bombers. But that is that. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Interesting night. Really interesting night. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, go Bombers.